Hi, I'm Rebecca Bradley, and welcome to Bite Size Interviews. I'm interviewing Lisa Cutts. Lisa has been writing since 2011, and she writes crime fiction mainly because of her love of the genre and also because she's been a serving police officer since 1996. Most of that time has been spent within CID and 10 years of that within the Serious Crime Directorate, dealing with homicides and major crimes. In 2012, she entered an extract of Never Forget into the Myriad Writers Retreat competition, and Never Forget was published in 2012. 2014 then followed up with Never Remember. The series focuses on DC Nina Foster. As we've heard, Lisa, you are a serving police officer and you write a series of police procedural crime novels involving DC Nina Foster. What is it like writing a series revolving around the world that you currently work in?
It's mainly the problem is finding time. Obviously, it's unpredictable hours at work, and I come home and write whenever I can. But I do find that it's been very interesting trying to write something that's very fast paced and moving as quickly as it possibly can without bogging readers down in detail. But I've also found that it's been very useful to have the background knowledge and information that I've got so that I know whether I'm going in the right direction or not. But work have been good, and they know what I'm doing. I've had to declare it, obviously, and I've had to say that I'm writing pretty much a fictitious version of my day job, but apart from the police procedures and how we actually go about things and investigate serious crimes like murder, it is all fiction. It's not based on actual investigations that I've worked on. So, for example, if I'd worked on a murder, I wouldn't use those examples and those facts in the fictional world. It would be something completely different other than the day-to-day run-ins and the investigation techniques.
And in crime fiction that we usually read, it's usually a DI or a DCI that is the protagonist, but you've chosen to have Nina as a DC. Why did you make that decision?
I wanted to make it as realistic as I possibly could, and I think the public probably got a little bit of perception that, or misunderstanding, I should say, that although the investigation is always headed by somebody who is a rank of DI or DCI, it often isn't them going out and doing the day-to-day investigation. The reason being that their task really is to focus and manage and run the investigation, and they can't be doing that if they're going out taking statements and interviewing someone. To interview a prisoner for murder, to do it properly, if you have, of course, the right person, can take days and days. And if the senior investigating officer needs to run the entire murder investigation, they can't really do it from the cell. They need to be in charge of everyone and everything. So it's not a case of trying to be rude about senior officers. It's not a case of saying, well, they don't really do anything, because their job is more of a managerial type role. We pretty much go out and do the groundwork and then report back to them. So they do oversee everything, and they do have a very important role. And if anything goes wrong, it's usually them that are in the firing line, unless, of course, you've done something that's down to you. But overall, they have responsibility and they are in charge.
It sounds really interesting. How difficult is it not to dip into the real life work when you're writing?
It obviously has always been a concern of mine that anybody would think that I was using actual murders that I'd worked on and just basically changing a few names and making them fit into my stories and making them part of my books. I haven't done that, and initially I had to get secondary employment clearance to go and just do any other job, whether I was going to earn any money out of writing, whether anybody wanted to publish it or not. I had to get that cleared. All police and civilian employees need to do that. But then I foresaw another problem, that I didn't want people to think if I'd turned up at their house, say a member of their family had been murdered, and I was taking their story and using it to make basically a book out of it. I didn't want people to feel that, and I didn't want to pretty much let down either Kent Police or the people of Kent doing that. So I then thought, well, if there is a further problem, I'm going to go and get clearance from the legal department and see what they have to say about it, and would they be okay with it. And I have to say, I gave them quite a lot of reassurances. One was that I wasn't going to use real life scenarios that I'd investigated and worked on. This was going to be something that it was from my imagination. And I even went so far with Never Forget. That was about a serial killing, and I haven't worked on a serial killing, so I hope people would recognise that I have gone completely out of my way to not use actual situations I've been a part of. And also with Remember, that's to do with cold case investigation, and again, I haven't worked on cold case, so I have gone out of my way to do it. Although I can't actually say that there aren't any quite amusing conversations and funny things and wind-ups that have happened that I haven't actually pinched. But I usually go and say to someone, that was really funny, that little story you told me, would you mind if I use that? But I'm talking about colleagues, I'm not talking about members of the public. And yeah, they usually say yes. If they say no, then that's it, I won't use it. But never the actual factual stuff of things that I've worked on as a part of my job as a police officer.
And what do your colleagues make of your writing career?
They seem interested to a point. They were all very excited, or some of them were to begin with. A lot of them came to both my book launches and they bought copies of my book, and some have told me they've read it and they've told me they've enjoyed it. I think they hopefully mean it rather than they're just being polite. But yeah, it's kind of, yeah, now and again someone will say, how's it going? You've got another one coming out, and we'll chat about it, and then they'll move on to something else, and that'll be that. There'll be something else distracting them, and of course, it's only a quick, brief conversation. But yeah, interested to a point, I suppose.
And Wingsy, Nina's working partner in the novels, he's a really great character. Is he drawn from anybody that you work with or have worked with in the past?
Oh, thank you. No, not really. Although I have worked with some brilliant people over the years, some men, some women, and I suppose I probably have taken all the better characteristics or some of the good characteristics from a number of colleagues and just amalgamated them and come up with Wingsy. But no, he's just really a usual, down to earth police officer that you would find, and detective that you would want to work with and you hope to be working with. So he's sort of one of probably thousands up and down the country.
And you are in an enviable position of a lot of crime writers in that you are a serving police officer and a DC working homicide. So you are privy to a lot of information and police knowledge and facts on how homicides are solved. Do you ever worry that your plot lines will get overrun by the police procedural side of it?
I don't worry about it, but I am mindful of it, and I am careful to work out if something's just not going to work, because I just know that that's not something the police would do, or if I'm thinking, well, really, for this to build a little bit more suspense for a reader, it needs to go on for a couple of days. And I know in reality the police will be able to find this information out within a few hours or possibly even minutes. Then I've gone to probably lengths of changing the story. So I wouldn't say it actually overtakes the plot, and I'm also mindful not to give the reader too much tedious detail, but there are now and again, there are snippets that I just think readers might be interested in. Things like in the budget cuts, hot chocolate got removed from the custody area because we couldn't afford it, so they got tea and coffee, and the tea and coffee is not very nice. So it was just little snippets like that I put in that most crime writers probably wouldn't know, unless you happen to have been in a police cell. But yeah, it's more a case of thinking, well, what would be the end of the book, and how would we get this information? Would it be too fast, too slow, or would it be impossible? Or would it just be, from whatever information you've got at the beginning, it'd be obvious who the person is, and then a matter of really of just finding them.
And do you have plenty of storylines ready and raring to go for Nina?
Yeah, I do. I've got another 3 ideas for her. I've made a very small, slow start on the third in the Nina series. I haven't got very far, just time's taken over really, and there's just not enough time with everything that's been going on and Christmas and all the writing. But yeah, I've definitely got a few more up my sleeve for her.
Brilliant. I'm really looking forward to reading it because I've enjoyed the first 2.
Thank
you for doing this.
Thank you for asking me.
And I'm sure crime writers will have picked up on the fact that there is no hot chocolate due to budget cuts now. So So I think we're just outside of our 10 minutes. So thank you very much, Lisa.
Thank you.
Thank you.